Hello, wonderful people. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm sure you are really wondering how to actually create your own workouts if you're here. And I get that question a lot. Clients come in to me saying, I don't know what to do. I don't know if I'm doing the right thing, if I am doing too much, doing too little, what should my workout look like? And they have a hard time staying on track. So today we're gonna go over how to set goals and then how to use those goals to actually structure a workout. And I'm gonna give you a little template that you can use when you are creating your own workout. It's the exact same format that I use with my clients and my own workouts every single day. I have been using it for over 5 years and it is just the best way of structuring a workout. So today we will go through how to set those goals and then how to take those goals and turn them into actual workouts. So first things first, when we decide to work out, we always want to set goals. With all of my clients, I say, let's come up with 3 goals that you are going to accomplish or work towards in the next 12 weeks. And when we talk about those goals, we want them to be SMART goals. SMART means specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. So what do I mean by that? When I say specific, I mean don't just say, I just want to get in shape and feel better. That is a fantastic goal, but it's actually hard to use that to structure your workout. So I want you to really think about what that goal is and maybe think that you want to build your glutes, that you want to improve your posture, you want to have a stronger core, you want to lift a certain number of pounds. Something really specific to work towards. This is going to be very important when it comes to structuring and designing those workouts. Next, you want it to be measurable because you want to be able to track your goals. What is measured is managed. It's like a corny little phrase, but it is really true. And I'm not just talking about the scale. In fact, with my own clients, you know, I do not talk about the scale. But you can measure the amount of weight you're lifting. You can track it and you can see it get better. You can measure your physical body, see if it's getting bigger or smaller, because based on your goal, you might want to be changing your body composition. We want to be taking progress photos to measure our goals. We can do daily journals just to measure our goals. When we talk about how our energy, mood, and sleep have been, just measuring your progress is a fantastic way of monitoring it. So next we want to have an attainable goal. So say you cannot do a single pull-up. Desiring to do 10 pull-ups in 1 month would not be attainable, but doing 30 seconds of hanging from the bar would be a very attainable goal. And maybe you're thinking, how am I supposed to know if my goal is reasonable or attainable? And that's really where coaches and professionals come in. That is why people hire us, to help you decide what is a reasonable goal. But if you have an idea of what's reasonable and what's not, you can do this on your own. Next, we want to talk about, is the goal relevant? Does it really align with your long-term goals and where you're headed with your life? Now, for example, if you plan on becoming pregnant really soon, a relevant goal would be to improve your core strength so that way your stomach rebounds better after the pregnancy and you're stronger after you give birth, and to improve your stamina because you're going to be carrying around heavier weight. In a goal that would be less relevant, or an irrelevant goal, would be something like wanting 6 packs or a really aesthetic goal. Because let's be honest, when you get pregnant, you gain weight, and those 6 packs specifically are going to completely disappear. Whether or not your abs were visible is irrelevant as soon as you get pregnant. So right there, we kind of have an irrelevant goal. And then finally, we want to be talking about, is our goal time bound? Do we have a timeline in which we plan on finishing that goal and attaining, and cut that out. And finally, we want to talk about the timeline for your goal. What is it based in? We want to have a specific amount of time you want to achieve that goal in, to make sure that you actually stick to it and stay on track. And it gives you a chance to check in. Say you wanted to get a 220-pound deadlift in 12 weeks. Well, even if you didn't get all the way there, you can check in 12 weeks and say, how far off am I? Was this a reasonable goal? Or maybe you hit your goal in week 6. It just gives you a way of checking in with yourself and making sure your goals are staying on track. Kind of piggybacking off of the last topic of time, the second thing once you set those goals is deciding how much time each week you can reasonably devote to your goals, because that's going to be important when it comes to designing your program. If you create a program that's too much of a commitment for you, say a 5-day-a-week program, and you can't do it, it just sets you up for failure. And one of the beautiful things about designing your own program is you can set yourself up for success. I'm a big fan of stacking the deck in your favor. So say you are a very inactive person, you're coming from a place of little to no exercise. 2 to 3 times a week would be a great place to start, saying I can dedicate 2 or 3 hours a week to exercise. Now, if you're somebody who's already working out all the time, maybe you're just not seeing your goals, well, then you have an idea of how much time you can devote to set goals. But if you are feeling burnt out and overextended, you might actually want to reel it in. My general rule of thumb is if you're inactive and going into a workout program, you want to be exercising 2 to 3 times a week. And if you have a pretty good baseline of athleticism and you can actually move and exercise already, 3 to 4 times. I really do not believe we need to strength train, resistance train more than 4 times a week. If you want to do more movement than that, we want to be talking about incorporating yoga, cardio, very low intensity recovery focused activities, and that's kind of another topic. But for now, when it comes to deciding how many workouts you want to do a week, 2 to 4 is a great place to be, and you just want to make sure you have time to do that. Finally, we need to create a plan that serves those goals. Now that you have the specific goals in mind, it's easy to work backwards and actually figure out what to put in the workout to help you achieve those goals. As long as you keep those goals in the forefront of your mind, whether it's writing a sticky note on your notebook that you always write those workout plans into, or coming up with your program ahead of time and keeping those at the header, we want to keep them in the front of our mind, because otherwise it's really easy to get distracted. So for kind of when we go through actually how to create a program, we're going to use the example of wanting to achieve a few pull-ups and improve your core strength as your 12-week goals. So we want to make sure that every single workout, or most of the workouts we do, incorporate things that help you reach those goals on a regular, and we're going to want to do that on a regular basis. So now it's time to actually write your workouts. And what does that look like? Well, at the end of the day, your keys to success are going to be making sure you have a proper warm-up and core activation to prevent injury, keeping the workout really simple, it doesn't need to be fancy, and being consistent with your timing of your programming and what actually happens in your programming. Every single workout does not need to be different. So I'm going to pop this onto the screen so you can see it, but the general format that I create workouts in is a mobility warm-up. This means something where you're moving your joints through their full ranges of motion, the entire body, to make sure that things are kind of well oiled, thinking of it as greasing the groove, getting things moving, getting your blood flowing. If it's first thing in the morning, this is extra important. You know, getting those stiff ankles and hips kind of moving around so they don't feel like they're going to snap when you go and put tension on them. Next, we do our core activation and glute activation exercises. These are things like glute bridging and dead bugs and things that get our core that can be asleep from whether it was sleeping or sitting all day, and our glutes that are very much asleep going. We want to get those things awake and get them stabilized so that way they can support the load they're going to hold. Then we're going to do our joint health and movement prep. Again, we're going to say, what are the movement patterns that our body is going through? And then we are going to do kind of baby versions of those exercises and things that will help to improve the health of the joints we are going to be utilizing. And I'll get into that more in a minute. Then comes the meat. We have our major lifts, or our primary strength, and this is usually a set of exercises that are the main thing you want to work on. So we were talking about those pull-ups. This is where the pull-ups happen, right? And then we have another set of exercises which we could call our accessory lifts, or our secondary strength. So accessory lifts would be things that help to improve the first thing you did. So say we're talking about an accessory lift for a pull-up, that would be a bent over row, or a TRX row, or a low bar row. Secondary strength would be working the antagonist muscles, the muscles that might be opposite of the muscles that you just worked, or just another goal of yours. So that doesn't necessarily have to be the same muscle group. We don't have to do accessory work. We can work a whole other group of muscles. Then finally, you have the option to add in a finisher. Say it's core or cardio, something that is low weight, that is not going to push you over the edge, but is just going to use the little bit of gas you have left in the tank. And then really finally, we have a cool down stretch. I don't personally believe you have to do cool down stretching. Some people love it. Some people don't have time for it. And of all of the things in this workout, that is the only one I say you can skip. So the very first thing you're going to do when you're thinking of planning your workouts for the week is think of your major lifts, the major things you want to accomplish that are based on your goals. If we're doing 3 workouts a week, you can jot down the 3 major lifts you'd like to do each day. These are things that are going to take the majority of your energy. So say you're really trying to improve, right? We said our pull-ups, our core strength, and maybe as well our deadlift and squat. You're going to want to kind of pencil those into different days as the major lifts. You can do them on every day, but the amount of energy and the weight that you choose is going to be heavier if they're your major lift. So we're going to first pick our major lifts. Like I said, they correspond directly to your goals. You can do these as single sets, meaning just 1 exercise at a time with rest between. You can do them as supersets, so 2 exercises back to back, or a circuit where you're doing multiple exercises in a row and then running back through them. Although circuits are generally better suited as accessory or secondary strength lifts. But kind of going back to the example of the pull-ups and core strength. We want to make sure we're doing lots of pull-ups and core stuff. So that means working on those muscles, but then also working the opposite muscles for pushing and pressing on other days. So on day 1, I'm going to say that our major lifts are going to be deadlifts and pull-ups. Those are going to fall into that major lift category. So once we come up with those, we're going to say, well, what will our secondary lifts be? Do I want to continue to strengthen my pulling exercises today, or do I want to work the antagonist muscles today, the muscles opposite? I'm going to say I'm going to go with accessory lifts. So that means I'm going to think of something like heavy swings, single leg deadlifts, lunges, bent over rows, or TRX rows. In a minute, I'll show you how I decide to put this all together. So now we have our primary lifts and our secondary lifts, or in this case, our primary strength and our accessory work. And then we work our way backwards. So now we start at the top of the list. We have our mobility work that typically looks the same for everyone every single day. But we need to do our core and our glute exercises because this is a lot of hinging. I'm going to do glute bridging and hamstring curls. These are going to activate everything on the back side of my body, basically from the ribs downward, and we're going to need those for our deadlifts today. Then I need to think about which joints are moving and the patterns that they're moving in. We have a lot of hip hinging and pulling, overhead pulling, right? So what can we do to warm up for that? We can do good mornings or lightweight swings, and we can do scapular pull-ups. We want to make sure we really have that vertical pull as part of our warm-up. You never want to jump into a pull-up cold. And then finally, we want to think, is there a finisher? And if I have time for a finisher, and I feel like this workout does. So for a finisher here, I'm going to do kettlebell swings and dead bugs. So now I'm going to pop up on the screen and you can see what this looks like as a full day of workouts. We start out with our core activation exercises, then we move on to the joint health with the scap pull-ups and good mornings. Our primary strength is pull-ups or negative pull-ups, if maybe I wasn't there yet, and deadlifts. Our secondary strength is going to be single leg deadlifts because that is a way of really isolating the muscles in the glute of the grounded leg, and then 3-point bent over rows to really work on that bicep and back strength that you need for your overhead pull. And then finally for my finisher, this is kind of a slower workout for the most part, so I want a little cardio blast. And I'm gonna do a 30-second on, 30-second off for 6 minutes of kettlebell swings and dead bugs. So 30 seconds of swings, rest, 30 seconds of weighted dead bugs and rest, rinse and repeat for 6 minutes in total. And then I can go into my cool down. So if we don't count the glute activation exercises, there's only 8 exercises in here in total. I know it kind of sounds like a lot when you're going through it and telling you all this, but really it is very few. People will come to me with workouts that have 16, 20 exercises. It's going to take them over an hour. We want to make sure we're keeping this workout around 60 minutes, especially if we don't include that warm up and cool down mobility work, and that we are really respecting our own time. So then we're going to do the same thing for 2 more days of the week. I'm not going to go over them here, but same thing. We start with our primary strength, we do our secondary strength or accessory lifts, and then we fill in from there. We always want to lead with our goal, keeping those goals in mind, and then working out from there. Additionally, when we look at that entire week, regardless of your goals, you do want to make sure you get a total body workout. So that means we want to make sure we are pulling with our deadlift exercises. We are pushing weight away from us with chest presses and push-ups. We're doing overhead stuff with our pull-ups and overhead presses, and we are pulling things towards us with rowing. You really want to, and squatting, can't forget squatting. We are bending our knees with squats and lunges. You want to try to cover all of these major exercise groups each week, but you don't have to change those exercises week to week. When it comes down to it, you could do the same exact workouts, the same 3 workouts for 4 solid weeks, and you would see progress every single week. We do not need a different workout every single time. If we do, it should be small adjustments to the reps. Maybe you go slightly more reps, maybe you go slightly heavier weight. Maybe instead of doing a single leg deadlift, we do a Bulgarian split squat or a foot on the wall single leg deadlift or a kickstand deadlift. Small modifications, especially if you are designing your own programming. If you come up with a workout you love, why mess with it? Keep it simple. So one thing I didn't mention, you'll notice on that slide where I was going through all of the workouts, is picking reps and sets. And again, this isn't as difficult as it could be. A good baseline is you should be able to, on most exercises, be able to do 10 reps for 3 sets. So this is kind of like our baseline. That is especially for our activation exercises, our core exercises, our joint health, our secondary strength. 10 reps, 3 sets, easy peasy. At the end, those 9th and 10th reps should feel challenging, but at rep 10 should feel like you have a little gas left in the tank. You shouldn't, however, feel like I could go to 15, 20 reps. If you feel like you could just keep going, your weight's too light. The solution is not to do more reps. The solution is to lift heavier weight. In order to make progress, you must keep increasing the load on the body. You need to keep increasing the strain that the resistance that you're putting on your body. And you can do that by increasing the weight. You can also slow down the tempo of your exercises, but that's getting a little more advanced. Just generally speaking, I would say bump up your weight a little bit. On the other hand, if you cannot get to 10 reps, whether it's because you've selected a weight that's too heavy or because you're trying to go for like a maximal strength program where you're really trying to improve your overall strength, then you can do smaller reps, say, 4, 6, 8 reps, whatever it is, and then you can do higher sets. We can go on for 5, 6, 7, 8 sets. But this would usually only be in a maximal strength program, and we'd be talking about this with our primary strength lifts, not the accessory work. The accessory work, you could maybe go up to 15 reps if you were really trying to get a little more cardio or a better burn, so to speak, or if your weight was really just too light and you didn't have access to a heavier weight. But for the most part, 3 sets of 10 is a great place to start. I hope that was fairly easy to understand. I know that it can be really overwhelming coming up with a workout. At the end of the day, we just need to remember to keep it simple, keep it regular, and keep it goal-oriented. And if this seems like kind of an overwhelming task, I get it. That's why people hire us. I know trainers who are not capable of programming and coming up with workouts that are going to be something that their client will get their clients to their goals. It really takes a lot of time and experience. So I completely get it if it's something that's been challenging to you. I hope this makes it easier. But if you still need help, I take clients online that I help achieve very specific goals, and through my She Beast program, which starts at the end of September, I help women get stronger, learn kettlebells, get pull-ups, and get push-ups, do all of the major lifts, and we cater it specifically to their goals. We set goals at the beginning of the program, and the workouts help you achieve them. So if you're feeling like maybe this is not something I need to dabble in, maybe I don't need to become an expert programmer, please reach out to me. You can find my information on my website right here, and I can't wait to hear from you. Let me know if you have any questions. Good luck with designing your own workouts.